You know, all this thing about feminism and this and that. Look, sisters who are listening to this, we don't have a problem with sisters being in charge of many parts of the running sort of, you know, quotas that we've got. There's nothing wrong with that. If a sister wants to become a judge, fine, you want to become this. I know there have been Muslim women judges in the past and so on. You know, I don't want to get into all of this. She can be a muftiya. Sayyidatuna Aisha was a muftiya herself, radiallahu anha. We don't have a problem with that. The thing is, when Allah said He's going to make Adam alayhi salam the Khalifa, He's going to make him, He said, Inni ja'ilun fil ardi Khalifa, I'm going to make a vicegerent on the earth. He didn't say about two. He didn't say about Adam and Hawa. He said only about Adam. Now that doesn't mean a woman cannot rule certain matters. She can. But we've got a system in this world, and the system is that no matter what you say, generally the man is going to be dominant over the woman. Now, you might question this and you might say, no, but that's, how can you do that, and that's sexist and that's wrong. And that. Look, I asked, I once asked Sheikh Rashid, Zahid Rashid from Pakistan. He came to this guy and I asked him, I said, look Sheikh, you know, I said, I'm an imam and I go out there and I get questioned about this gender thing and equality and all that. I said, you know, please Sheikh, give me a, you know, thing, how are we supposed to look at this thing? And he said, look, this is what you've got to do is that you've got to assess the situation and see what's happening. So I said, but look, you know, a woman like, you know, the Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher, that's what I talked about. I said, look, Thatcher, she ruled the whole country and so on, blah, blah. But he said, look, he said, rules are not made on exceptions. Rules are not made on exceptions. We do believe that a woman can rule, you know, as in a woman has the ability to rule. Whether in Islam there's a debate whether a woman should rule or not. There's a debate of that. I'm not saying that a woman, you know, in Islam should rule a country. No. What I'm saying, generally, if the woman has the ability, but rules are made not on exceptions but on the general masses. This is one of the things he said. And he said, if you were to go in any army where they've employed women inside there, and from the toughest side of life, there are many tough sides of life, of istiqlaf. When Allah said about Khalifa to Adam alayhi salam, there are things of the most important matters which are the most reigning, governing, sovereignty, ruling the world and controlling the world. It is on a general scale the job of a man to do that, not a woman. Allah just hasn't created her for the greatest matters of the earth for her to rule the world. Right? Until the day of judgment, that's not going to happen. I'm telling you, from this word, what you can derive, from when Allah said about Adam being the Khalifa, what you can derive is that until the day of judgment, there will never be a dominant group of women who will all rule the world. It will not happen. It just will not happen because of the way the nature of the man is. So he gave me an example. He said, okay, the Americans have accepted the women into the army. He said, that's fine. And they talk about equality, that the woman can also fight in the army, that's fine. But he said, what you want to do is, don't talk about women being in the army, talk about women being in the front line. When you start looking at the stats of women being in the front line of actual fire, he said, start reading the reports on that. Start getting the scientific journals on that. You'll see that the man himself, you know, it's really hard to be there and see legs being blown off, right? And blood squirting all over your face, your eyes, and then you have to run and you're seeing some guy, you know, his eyes have been sort of, you know, gouged out, and you see some other one that's been hanged on a tree or whatever, and his body is rotting and so on. It's not everyone's stomach. Not everyone has got a stomach to take that. But he said, if you look at the reports of the scientific journals on the studies of people who've gone to the armies, you will find that most men still are able to take that. But most women are not. A lot of women have come back with severe disorder after they've gone to the front lines. That's why even the armies, they will try and, you know, not allow many women to go to the front lines. He said many of these greater things. Now, we're not saying that the woman doesn't have a place on this earth. No, Allah has created a beautiful world where He's made opposites. Now please understand this here. Where you've got the earth, you've got the sky. Where you've got heat, you've got coldness. Where you've got like right, you've got left. Where you've got, you know, rain or wetness, you've got dryness. Allah's created opposites. The man is an opposite of the woman is an opposite of the man. And they're two halves. They go together. So for example, you need the rain and you need the sun to try and get plantation. You want plants and you want greenness, you want photosynthesis to work, you better have rain and you better have the sun as well. They both go together as a unit. The rain cannot claim that you the sun, you're up and high, and you look over and, everyone looks at you and everyone blames me for making a wrong day and all of that, and, you get all the credit, and everyone comes out and everyone enjoys you and they talk so good about you, and I get the blame of coming down, but yet they survive on me. I should be like you, the sun. Right? And I should be like you bright, and I should be like you hot instead of being a cold element and so on. If that happened, things would go wrong. If cold became heat, heat became cold, and it all became hot or it all became cold, something would go wrong. The same way, look, the man and woman have been created as opposites. What does that mean? That means that we complement each other. The man complements the woman in this world. The woman complements the man. And how that is, if you look truly in the nature of men and women, you will find that subhanAllah, what Allah has given the woman to do, the man can't do. Mother, for example, Allah has called the walida, Allah has called the Allah has given a hanan, Allah has given her great love, deep love. Allah has made her have wood and unconditional love inside her heart. The man cannot, and men in general cannot match this. And kids need this. Part of a human upbringing is that you are balanced with your intellectual thinking and your emotional part. And the woman provides the emotional part, the man provides the intellectual part. And as a human being, we need both of them to become a great human being. And Allah Azza wa Jal, what Allah has given to the woman, who can show in many things that she can toil in the smaller parts of life, which men can't do and men are not good at. For the scrutiny that the woman has, I'm talking in general sense, the men don't have. You talk about the secretarial job, right? Why are men not good at it? Because men generally don't have that clockwork ability that many women have, and they're not sort of good at the finer details as women are. But the women, again, in many jobs that men do, they can't sort of match them. Now, come back to that hadith again. That hadith, what does it mean? It means first is the secondary source. That's one thing I said. Second, from the rib I'm talking about. Yeah? Second thing is, if you were to look at your rib, what would you do with your own rib? If you said, look, why is my rib bent? Would that be a question? The best thing is that your rib remains bent. Where your rib is, even the lowest part of your rib, you want your rib to stay where it is, and you want it to be in that shape because it puts your body shape in it, right? The spine is different. The spine you want it to be straight. The ribs you want it to be bent. Again, there's a complement. When Allah Azza wa Jal created the human being in Surah Tariq, He said, يَخْرُجُ مِن بَيْنِ الصُّلْبِ وَالتَّرَائِبِ. The human being, he comes out from, the sperm or the semen that emanates, it comes out from between somewhere where the spine is and the ribs are. Why did Allah say that? Because both of the structure, the ribs can't remain without the spine. And the spine can't remain without the ribs. The body will be all sort of jelly shaped without the ribs. So again, what the meaning of this is, or the lesson that we understand from this, is that there's a great complementing part of the man being straight and the woman having her slight bentness in her. What does that mean? That means that the man would have a greater portion of the intelligence. See, if you look at the spine, now these are things I'm just deriving for you from this. You may not find it in the books, but I'm just giving you things. Like, look at the spine. The spine is connected to what? The spine is connected to the brain. It's connected to the brain. The brain, if the neck breaks, then you become paralyzed for life. If the brain connection stops. What Allah Azza wa Jal has given an ishara or indication to is that the men mainly have got this intelligence, more of this, not intelligence, sorry. It's called the using more of the intellectual capacities over the emotions. Whereas Allah has created women who generally will use more emotion over the intellectual capacity. Not to say that they're not intelligent. No, that is wrong to say that about women. So what does that mean? That means again it's a complement. You need both of these sides. This is one of the reasons why when you have got the most delicate of the human beings in the hands of a woman, she's able to keep it, moving on. Like if you have a single father and a single mother, I don't know if you looked at these studies. There are studies out there, please go and see them. If you look at families where single fathers have brought the children up, the children are more sort of, they grow up with sort of feelings that are more sort of strong and hard. Whereas if single mothers, children grow up with that, they grow up with more soft sort of feelings. And when you've got parents together, they both can complement. Now why I'm talking about single here is you get a taste of what the man gives and what the woman gives. The woman, Allah has created her. Look, the emotions are somewhere deep down there. And that's what Allah said about her coming from the rib. Why? Because the emotions are attached to that. Allah Azza wa Jalla has made them in such a way that together they make a wonderful combination. But on their own, they're not really good. Even the man on his own is not that good. Even the woman on her own is not that good. A friend of mine said to me the other, and actually he was an alim as well. He said, "Subhanallah, how Allah has in Islam given the matter of the divorce in the man's hands and not in the woman's." Why? Because he said, if you look at any stats of divorce cases in the UK, so there are divorce stats that you can get straight from the internet, and you can find out how many divorces took place in the United Kingdom, how many of those were instigated by men, and how many of those were instigated by the women. Because in this country, obviously, the law is that the woman can apply for a divorce and the man can apply for the divorce. He said, subhanallah, if you look at the stats, majority of people in the UK or Western world where they've opened it to men and women to divorce whoever wants to, whenever they want to, you will find the majority of them, 80% of the cases have been because the woman has instigated the divorce. Why? Because the emotions get high. And when the emotions get high, her intellectual capacity, they can become cloudy. That's what happens. And that's why Allah gave the man the right to have the divorce in his hand. Now, this is Allah's distribution because He understands how we work best. So that's another point that I mentioned. Another point I want to mention is that the rib itself, Rasulullah ﷺ said that if you straighten it, you break it. If you leave it, it stays as it is. Allah has created women. Don't expect your woman, your wife, to think like a man. It's a big mistake a lot of men make out there. They think that why can't she think like me? Why can't you? Well, if you thought like you should be a man. If you thought like you should be like a man. You don't want a man in the house. You don't want you a man and her a man. You don't want that, do you, right? So she's going to think differently, right? And one of the things she will do is that she might get upset and she will swell up sometimes. And this happens with women. This happens. And even, look, I'm talking about women that have worked with me, women that are in my family, in my household, in my relatives, and women that I know of. I'm giving you a general thing about women, is that when these matters go, when political situations come and when things go start to go slightly haywire, women, Allah has created them that they can sort of sometimes get a bit off course. They lose the balance slightly in their thinking pattern. Now I'm not talking about all women, please. I'm talking about general thing. But men lose their balance of emotion when it comes to an emotional drift. They lose their balance. For example, right, if you had certain kids that need, he's a single father and he needs those women, those children that are dependent upon him. After a little while, he first might say, okay, better, whatever, come over here, I'll give you this. After a little while, he say, look, I gave you the spoon, right? I gave you the spoon. Now you're crying for another spoon, right? You drop it on the ground, just pick it up. Pick that spoon up from the ground. Pick that spoon up. That's what I said, right? Right, give it to me. Let me wash it out. Give it back to you, right? Now, I'm sick of that. I'm getting late for work, right? You kids, right? Driving me crazy, right? You just need to have breakfast really quickly, and I need to just get out of here, okay? You're late for this. You're late for that. Now he's gonna snap, and I'm telling you, it happens. All right? What will the woman do in that situation? When it's emotionally, they're driving her crazy, and I've seen this. Emotionally, the kids are driving, like even my wife or other situations. I can clearly relate to my wife. They're driving crazy, and you know what? Her love is still there. Her love is still there. Okay, don't worry. I'll just wash it. Here's another spoon. Just take it. Just finish it off. Sometimes they're going crazy. They're like one's attacking that one, one's attacking that. You did this, you started it, you did this, you did that. What will the man do? The man's going to come in the middle and say. First he might take it easy, then after a few incidents. But I'm talking about the 20th incident, the 30th incident, the man will say, hey, you, over there, in that corner. You, over there, in that corner. What will a woman do? A woman's going to come over here, sit on my lap. Come over, sit on my lap. What are you crying for? Tell me. That affection. A man can't do her thing. Right? So what I'm saying is that she becomes rocky when it comes to more intellectual things in this life, and he becomes more rocky when it becomes to the emotional things of life. You know, he hasn't got he is not always on the straight when it comes to those emotional periods, and she's not always straight when it comes to all those intellectual things. So that's why you just leave her as she is. The whole point of it is that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, no, if you go on straighten it, you're going to break it. If you leave it, it stays, it remains. And it was made, the way Allah made it. Just leave it like that. So what should a man do? A man has to understand that this piece of a bone inside him has been created for that reason, that it remains like that.